Hello, this is Marlene Dinarius here from latinum.org.uk, and you can find Latinum at Patreon. We are continuing on with Miller, his elements of Thoroughbass and composition, in which the rules of accompaniment for the harpsichord or pianoforte are rendered amusing, etc., etc. Chapter 2, Article the First, on the common chord. We are on page 3. And this book is formed in a dialogue between the pupil and the master. So the pupil says, after having studied intervals in the previous chapter, I think I am now able to find out the interval or distance from one note to another. Therefore, what am I to understand by a common chord? Master, a common chord represents a perfect harmony. Pupil, what intervals make a common chord? Which is of course why Miller taught intervals at the first lesson, because without knowing intervals you can't know how to construct a chord. So the master, an 8-3-5, a 3-5-8, or a 5-8-3 from any bass note or from its octave above, always counting from one of these two notes the long keys upwards. Consequently, there are 3 different ways of playing a common chord. So for example, here is C. So 8, 3, 5, 3, 5, 8, 5, 8, 3, giving us, and to repeat, give me an example in notes of the 3 different ways of playing a common chord. So here is our C in the bass, the octave 8, and then 3, and then 5. This is the fast way. Then 3, 5, 8. So the second way is, and the third way, 5, 8, 3. So let's do that again. And to repeat. Before I go through the examples of the common chords on the stave, I'm going to read through the notes. So nota bene, note well. As to the preference in taking a common chord, the first way in the above example is the worst. The second is the most natural, and the third way, the most harmonious. Pupil, why are the stars placed over those treble chords? If you look up at the stave, you'll see that some of the examples have got a star. Master, to show you that the reason for the skip, that means that we don't follow the progression, we jump to another place on the keyboard, in those places is that the chords may not be taken too high on the instrument. Pupil, how high or how low may I play the chords with the right hand? The master, seldom or never play a note higher than this G or lower than this G. So this G or this G. And now we'll go back to the example given above. So now we're looking at his second example. The bass is G, which gives us 8, 3, and 5. Which is the first example, the first way, which is, of course, as Miller notes, the worst way. Then we have 3, 5, 8. That's the second way, but this brings us to the G that's at the top of the register, beyond which we should not go. So, according to Miller, we shouldn't do this because we've gone beyond that G. So what we do is we drop down the third way and we skip. And we go 5, 8, 3. The third way down here. So first way, second way, and third way. We're now on his third example of common chords with D. So that gives us 8, 3, 5 in the first way, which, as he notes, and I'll repeat it, is the worst way, but the easiest. Then 3, 5, 8. And 5, 8, 3 will not take us beyond the upper G, so we are okay. We don't have to do anything. We're now at the fourth example, which is with A, and that gives us the first way, 8, 3, 5. But immediately we run into a problem with his rule that you can't go above that G, because if we were to go up, we would go beyond the limit that's allowable. And so for the second way, we skip down and we go 3, 5, 8. And then the third way, because we cannot go up beyond that upper G, so the third way we are also down in this place and we are 5, 8, 3. So the first way. The fifth example is on E, and this doesn't present us any problems because it brings us right to the upper limit, but we stay within it. So 8, 3, 5. 3, 5, 8. 5, 8, 3. Bringing us to the upper G, so we are allowed to use it. We're now looking at the sixth example, which is B, and we drop below middle C for the first of the chords. So 8, 3, 5. 8, 3, 5. Notice I've sharpened the fifth to give a perfect interval. If I don't sharpen it, 3, 5, 8, 3, 5, 8, and then 5, 8, 3. And now we're at the final example, which is F, giving us 8, 3, 5, which is the first way. Then 3, 5, 8, which is the second way. But because of the rule that we cannot go above this G, then the third way we go 5, 8, 3. And so the chords are So after this the pupil says, I am afraid I shall not remember what notes make a common chord to any given bass note. The master, that you may do it, observe that as there are but 7 different letters made use of to express the 7 different notes in music, so there are but 7 different common chords. I will give you an example of the different notes that make a common chord to each of the 7 bass notes, to be got by heart. And this advice I would highly advise you take, that you spend a lot of time at the piano or at the harpsichord or whatever keyboard you have, playing all the common chord variations to each of the notes. That's the 7 notes, of course 8 notes in the octave, but we're only using 7 of them because the 8th note is the repetition. So here's the example, the bass note C, giving us C, E, G, 8, 3, 5, which is of course the worst way of forming the chord, but the easiest way to remember it. D, D, F, A, E, E, G, B, F, F, A, C, G, G, B, D, A, C, E, and B, B, D, F. But if you sharpen the F, it sounds more harmonious. So, what notes, says the master to the pupil, make the common chord of C? So the pupil says C, it's 8th, E, it's 3rd, and G, it's 5th. Then the master says, what notes make the common chord of D? D, it's 8th, F, it's 3rd, A, it's 5th, and so on for the rest, says the pupil, trying to get out of being questioned any further. And this next interchange from the master and the pupil is the last bit in this section of the recording, and then we're going to stop and go on in another time. So the master says, you must remember, he says, that there are 3 ways of playing every common chord. So that C, E, G, E, G, C, and G, C, E equally make the common chord to C. For whatever way a common chord is played, it still will be composed of notes of the same names. Pupil. This I understand very well, but what is called the key in music? And with that question, we will stop here and proceed in another recording. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful to unlock some of this material. It's not that complicated, but to get good at it does require practice at your keyboard. It's not good enough just to know it intellectually. You need to really know this stuff instinctively. And that's it from now.